Hello YouTube, Goddard Radio Moscow here again with another beer review for you, as is usual. Continuing on with the German series of beer reviews, and we're going to have a look at a beer today from the state of Saxony over in eastern Germany. And this actually was one of the ones that was in the former East Germany, if you like. So we're going to have a little look at Wernesgrüner Legende. And this one actually has a very good reputation. It's described as being one of the sort of best macro lagers, if you like, or macro Pils beers in Germany. So I'm quite interested to actually see how we get on with this guy. It should be a really interesting one to taste, and I'm also a fan of their Bitburger. That's probably one of my favourite macro beers, in fact, and Bitburger is the parent company of Wernesgrüner Brauerei. So I'm quite interested to review this one for you today, but as is usual with my beer reviews, I'll just take you through a brief history of the brewery, tell you a little bit about where it's from, all of that kind of thing. But as I always say, you're always welcome just to go along to the tasting part of the video if that's all you're interested in. Now this brewery, as I mentioned, is from Steinberg-Wernesgruen in Saxony in Germany, and it's actually very close to the corner in the Czech border with Germany, and it's a very small town with a population of only 2,900 people. Now the Wernesgrüner brewery was founded in 1436 by brothers Caspar and Christoph Schorer, and this was after they received privileges to open a brewery, a tavern and a glassworks after their service to Count Friedrich and Hans Donha, who were actually in the castle there. And the family were actually very famous. The Schorer family were very famous as glassmakers in the Saxony region of Germany. Now in 1762 the Schorer brewery was brought over by the Gunel, and the Gunel family bought over the brewery, and the Mainel family took over the bottling properties of the Schorer brewery. But by the year 1889 only the breweries of Gunel and Mainel were actually left in Wernesgrüen. Now Gunel trademarked his brewery's slogan "Boundary Source" in the year 1904, and this was due to the fact that this parent company that owned all of these breweries had 5 different labels that were all competing with each other, so he wanted to be the first to have that slogan. Now in the early 1900s the brewery also became one of the first in Saxony to produce the Pilsner beer, after obviously this has been sort of influenced by their proximity to the Czech Republic, if you like. But by 1930 the brewery was actually exporting their beer to a number of different European countries such as the Netherlands, and they were also exporting as far as the USA, and the beer was actually served on the Hapag ships that sailed from Hamburg over to the United States. After the Second World War the Gunel family actually fled to West Germany, and the brewery became a state-owned enterprise, and this was the case with many organisations in what became Eastern Europe, if you like, behind the Iron Curtain. Now in 1972 the brewery was officially named Wernesgrüner Brauerei KG, and then in 1974 the Wernesgruen breweries were merged together and they were named VEB Export Beer Brewery Wernesgruen, and VEB was the sort of the similar idea to incorporated, this sort of business prefix that they used in the Soviet Union and the puppet states, if you like, for a state-owned enterprise, VEB. Now in 1990 the brewery was re-privatised and it began to grow and see some really major market success. At this time the only brand of the brewery was the Wernesgrüner Pilsner, and then in 2002 the brewery, as I mentioned earlier, became part of the Bitburger group, and then in 2006 they introduced their alcohol-free beer, and apparently this beer is actually quite widely sold by Aldi, and I was learning this when I was looking up the details about this beer. Aldi is actually in America, and I didn't realise this. We get them in Scotland and they're quite well known throughout Europe, if you like, but I had no idea that they actually sold this beer in Aldi, so I need to go and have a little look for this guy when I get home again. But let's get on to the tasting of this beer itself. So this guy is a 4.9% Pilsner. I'll just bring up the camera and let you have a little look at the bottle a bit more closely, as I always do. So you can see there's the Wernesgrüner label, Pils Legende, or however they pronounce it, Legende. I'm not sure how they would pronounce it in German. You can see the Wernesgrüner crest there. It's actually quite a nice one, and you can see the top label is quite similar to the bottom label, and the bottle cap is pretty much just the same as the little bit here, just with Wernesgrüner and the crest of the brewery as well. As you can see on the thing there, it says brewery tradition from the year 1436. Has just a little bit, it just says, oh, it's brewed in accordance with the Reinheitsgebot and things like that on the back, just the usual stuff. But yeah, 4.9% Pilsner beer. It's a half-litre bottle, best by the 10th of July 2014, so I'm in plenty of time when I'm drinking this one. So let's get this guy open and get on with the tasting here. See a nice little smoky opening on the bottle there. So let's get this guy into the glass and we'll see how we're doing. This guy is actually an Augustiner tankard, so I need to give a shout out to my friend Lally for lending me this one to do my beer reviews. I need to go and get some Augustiner beer and actually review that when I'm in Germany. It would be a little bit of a sin to kind of miss out that brewery when you're in their heartland, if you like. Just need to let this guy settle down. But as you can see from the on the video there, it's a crystal clear beer, a pale straw yellow colour, a very well carbonated beer by the looks of it. But I've said that in tastings before when I've just looked at the beer. I think, oh, it'll be well carbonated, but it won't. It actually isn't. You can see it's maybe about a 3-finger fluffy white head on it there, and this is one of the big things that Germans love about their beer, as I've mentioned time and again on this German series of beer reviews. And as I've always mentioned, the Germans like to have the head of their beer just coming out over the top there. So you want a nice bit. If you get a beer in Germany that isn't like that, you can complain and have it sent back. And the Germans are actually quite pernickety about that. If it doesn't cross the half litre, if it doesn't at least reach the 0.5 litre mark on the glass, they will send them back and complain that they're getting messed out of their beer, if you like. So it is quite funny actually. I've seen that once or twice in some of the brew pubs and things like that, so it's quite funny to see them do that. Just check that this is in the right place, but there we are. Okay, so in terms of the aroma with this guy, it's quite a mild aroma actually, but it does have a little pungent background to it. It smells kind of quite floral, if you like, but it's very grassy actually. The sort of sweet grassy character with some citrus in there is the big thing that's jumping out with this guy. But yeah, very kind of sweet and grassy aroma. You can pick up some grains in there as well. But actually, it's a weird thing to say, but you can smell the water in this guy. It actually smells like mineral water. That's one of the first times I've encountered something like that. You can actually pick up the quality of the water in this beer. It really does smell just a little bit like mineral water, but you are getting a big dose of grassy hops in here. And a little bit of floral character perhaps as well. You're not really picking up the malt base very much. It is a very grassy hop smelling beer, definitely. And you have to breathe it in quite sort of strongly, if you like, to actually pick that up. If you just take a brief sniff at it, it is quite a mild smelling beer. But yeah, definitely a big sort of grassy and citrusy hop to it, but the citrus is in the background. It's a big grassy aroma to this guy. So without further ado, let's give it a taste. You can see the head is becoming a bit more bumpy here. It's gone from that sort of frothy kind of convex outlay that it had before. It's actually quite the first impression that's coming to me with this guy is it's quite a well balanced flavour. Yeah, it is actually quite a nice, well-balanced flavour. This is actually, like I was saying at the start, I thought this would be I'd heard that this was a very good example of a macro beer. It's one of the better ones. But yeah, at the start, you're picking up these sort of grainy and bready malts, and it's actually a slightly sweet malt base. Maybe it's not quite a corn sweetness actually. Yeah, there's a sort of floral character that lays over into the hop part of the beer, but in the malt base, the floral character in a way is kind of coming at the start and staying through the malt base and then becoming a little bit stronger towards the end of the beer. But yeah, definitely starting off with the sort of grainy and bready malts, and as I say, it's slightly a sort of sweet floral character that's staying through there, and then the hops actually come out quite strongly. You've got a good dose of sort of grassy and floral hops there, and I do like that with Pils beers when you've got a little bit of more hoppy character in the end of this beer, but there's a lot of floral and grassy character at the end of this beer. There is some fruit in it as well. Definitely a sort of citric fruit in the end there, and I think that's maybe what's helping to bring out the sort of grassy and floral character, but making it just that little bit stronger, definitely. But yeah, I can see why this one is actually quite well rated in terms of a macro beer. It does have quite a nice hoppy bite to it, which is it's quite unusual for a sort of macro beer, if you like, to have a hoppy bit that's as prominent as that. It does have a slightly metallic taste to it, in fact, as well, though, and you can just feel that sort of throughout the kind of beer as well. But yeah, in terms of the mouthfeel with this one, it's light bodied, slightly dry actually throughout it, and it's a little oily as well, but it's quite well carbonated at the same time, and it is quite refreshing in fact. But yeah, it does have a nice, like I say, this beer, in terms of a macro beer, if you have to choose a macro beer and you like me, you like the sort of things with a hoppier bite, if you can get this guy, certainly give it a go. It does remind me of Bitburger a little bit in terms of the mouthfeel, and the malt base isn't too far away from that. So if you like Bitburger, give this guy a try and see what you think of it. It's the Bitburger, of course, is the parent company of this one, but overall it's actually quite a good macro pils beer. So if you have to pick a macro beer, I would recommend this guy. So hopefully you found this beer review informative, but thanks again for watching my beer reviews. If you do happen to have tried this guy yourself, please let me know in the comment section your own thoughts on this brew. And if you have particular German beers that you want me to keep an eye out for as well, let me know in the comment section and I'll see what I can do about that. The beer in Germany though is very sort of regionalised, so you'll only get your local beers a lot of the time, but this guy comes from the East Germany and I picked it up in Mainz for some reason, I'm pretty sure. So you never know, I can definitely keep an eye out for some of the beers that you might want to see me review. But thanks again for your support over the 170 or so videos it is now. Thanks again, and please, as I say, like, subscribe, share, comment, all the usual YouTube stuff. Thanks again for your support, and I'll catch you soon with another beer review. Cheers.